I always say that there's no point in acquiring more clients if there's no customer journey. Meaning, if there's no process after that to nurture them. Let's say go to a shop, you invite people to the shop, and there's nothing, they will not buy.
You're listening to Fuzzled, where structure beats hustle every time. If you want marketing that's designed, not reactive, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome to Fuzzled, from confusion to clarity, with myself, Paul Culshaw. So this is the podcast for thoughtful founders who want to become recognised experts online without the noise, guesswork or constant content grind. And each week we explore the systems behind authority, visibility and sustainable growth in an AI-shaped world. And today's episode is all about what's actually working in online business right now, May 2026, because the pace of change in the digital landscape is always quick. AI tools are reshaping content creation, audience behaviour is silently shifting, and organic reach is changing. And many founders are stuck trying to grow using strategies that used to work a few years ago but no longer create meaningful traction. So the challenge now is not simply visibility, it's clarity. Clarity of your positioning, clarity of messaging, clarity of systems, and clarity around what actually drives growth and recognition. So to help us unpack all of this today, I'm joined by Mireia Paíno. Mireia is a business strategy for service-based business owners, helping experts grow their practice online in a way that feels simple and sustainable. She works with smart, creative entrepreneurs who want to scale their business without working more hours or sacrificing their freedom. Her approach focuses on simplifying strategies, refining funnels, and building systems and automations that quietly support the business behind the scenes. So let's go and meet Mireia in the big breakdown. Hi, Mireia. Thanks for coming onto the podcast. Welcome to Fuzzled.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
It's so good for you to be here. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So as a fellow digital marketer, I know that a lot of people are confused with online marketing. There's always more platforms. There's a lot more AI tools nowadays as well. There's certainly a lot of advice and opinions on social media. So we can see why things become confusing for people who aren't from a marketing background. And that's what this podcast is all about. As you know, it's Fuzzled, from confusion to clarity. So it's great to have a marketing person like yourself on here to provide some more clarity for our listeners. So I'm just going to start out with a pretty important question in terms of what do you see as the key trends which are shaping online business growth nowadays in 2026 and for the rest of the year?
So I would say, first of all, thank you for having me, Paul. I'm really excited to have this conversation. Again, as you mentioned, there's a lot of confusion nowadays. I feel because we try to do so many things at once. And with marketing, it's better to have less things and really perfect your ideal persona, your ideal client persona. But answering your questions, one of the trends that we are seeing, and it will be crazy, I feel like, in the next 2-3 years, is that companies will start to ask for their employees to have their own personal brands. So if there's a corporate company, let's say a big company, they will ask their employees to have their own personal brand. So as business owners, having a personal brand, having a presence online, having an opinion online will be like key to grow the business. So we will see in the next 2-3 years how companies use their employees to get exposure and to build trust.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. So a lot of people might think if you're a personal brand, it just means you work by yourself. You don't have a team. You're a solopreneur, I think the term is. But you're saying that perhaps it's actually going to be more important for larger businesses to actually gain a bit more visibility. Is that for their employees or for the actual CEO at the top of the company?
It's for the actual company. So if you trust someone because you share, let's say, the same opinion on it, or you share the same insights, they know as a company that more people will come in and become buyers. So here I'm talking about two things. One thing, it's a big company that we will see a trend, a tendency that they will ask their employees to post constantly on LinkedIn to build a personal brand so they can create a sense of trust of the company. And then we have the entrepreneurs or solopreneurs. In that case, it's like mandatory right now to have a personal brand, to build your own presence online and to have an opinion. I would say another trend that I'm seeing is that people are sharing how they built the company, the behind the scenes. If you can incorporate that into the content strategy, that would be good.
Yeah, I think that's really important to actually show your expertise, but also the insight in terms of actually how you actually did it. So we do have a section on the podcast episode here, which is, it's got quite a light, fun tone to it in terms of marketing fails and holy moly moments. But that's really talking about what didn't work for you and what did work for you as well as you were growing your business. And I think those types of insight are really important for people to see, because again, I think it humanizes the business as well. It shows that we're all trying, we're all testing things. So let's always share the learning.
So a personal success to me would be, let's start with the failure because I always think it's funny. So I will share one that was a client one that I had and one a personal one. I think that's both of them are fun. So first one was a retreat that I tried to launch back in 2022 with a couple of girls. We wanted to do a retreat that connected the business part and the spiritual part. And it was a complete failure. So we couldn't manage to get enough people to make a profit from it. I learned so much. And one of the mistakes that we did was that we didn't have a great customer journey. And I think that's all about, the episode will be all about how can we create a customer journey. So how can we nurture people so they will become clients in the future? So one of the big mistakes is that we sold basically the retreat before having a conversation with them, before nurturing them. We didn't have enough, let's say, visibility. We didn't have personal brands back then. So that was a complete mistake. So I think right now, if I wanted to launch a retreat, I would focus on building an audience, building my personal brand, having a great customer journey so I can nurture them, so they can learn from me, so they can feel seen and understood by me before I sell them something. And that's a similar case that happened with one of my clients at the beginning of my career. We tried to sell a high ticket that, again, it was at the beginning for them. So no one bought that because we don't have the trust with them. So first you need to build trust with your audience, and that requires time.
It does. It requires time and it requires patience, doesn't it? I think anything that's organic takes time. So people get used to in terms of, or people start to understand what you are an expert in. First of all, they see your repeated messaging. Then it makes sense to actually put an offer in there because people know what you're offering. So we talked about what's working now or what you recommend people to focus on in terms of absolutely kind of build more of a personal brand in your business in 2026 and beyond. What strategies do you feel are no longer working nowadays, but people are still heavily relying on?
So I see a lot of people, for example, spending so much money on Facebook ads on pieces of content that they haven't tried on an organic level. So saying like, I prefer for you to post something, test it for free on social media. And if that piece of content performs, then you can add money to it. But I feel like so many people are relying on Facebook ads, and it's not something that will create growth in the long term. I feel it's better to grow an online presence like organically and then get a bit of support from ads. And I feel you will have a more engaged community, or at least that's what I have been seeing. So that's one of the things people are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I've always seen quite a lot of people be more reliant on ads. I feel they just put money behind some ads and they'll grow their audience that way. But absolutely, it's much more sustainable to build your business through organic media and then see what works in terms of messaging and programs and guides, etc., and then put some spend behind what's working there, actually boost it with some paid spend. Definitely, yeah. So it's less about ads. They do have their place, but less about ads, you're saying, and more about building a personal brand organically online.
And I want to add here that every piece of content that you post on Instagram, there's a specific analytics to it. And there's one specific analytic there inside that talks about retention. So Instagram tells you exactly the moment that they left that piece of content, video, the reel, the carousel. So it's really important that we increase retention. So every time you post, have a look at the analytics. See, okay, why people left at second number 5? What happened there? What can I add there to make it more engaging?
I'm so glad you brought that up. Not many people do. In terms of looking at analytics, they are there for everyone to use. I feel some people maybe don't know it's there or don't know how to interpret the data, but it's about just learning what the data actually means, isn't it? And then actually using it to your best advantage. So in terms of personal branding then, how does personal branding need to evolve in 2026?
So I think people nowadays are craving real, raw authenticity. So I think when creating a personal brand, it's not about sharing everything about yourself because generally people are not comfortable with that. So it's about picking 4 or 5 things that you're comfortable sharing about you, maximum 4 or 5 things. So it could be like, I love dogs. I'm addicted to coffee. That would be my case. I love walking. I love, let's say, scuba diving. So it could be whatever you feel like. I would say maximum 4 things that they can start to relate to you. Obviously, one of the things should be your personal story. Like, why am I creating the business? Why I decided to start the business? That's key. But it's about picking 4 things that they can connect with you and relate to you. It's as simple as that.
So this is about building resonance with your audience, isn't it? So put out what you're naturally interested in, you're saying, in terms of the person behind the brand.
Exactly. And again, I always remind that to my clients, there's no need to share something that is so vulnerable to you that you're not ready. Share the things that you're comfortable with. And it could be as simple as, hey, I love dogs. I have 3 dogs. And people who have dogs will work with you because they relate to that, for example. So it's crazy how that happens.
Yeah, I think sometimes it is as easy as that. And this is why it's great to have someone like yourself really getting towards the clarity in terms of what you need, because a lot of people do overthink it, I find. And they go around in circles in terms of what should they post. I don't know what to post, that they're saying a lot, and then they don't post anything. And that's when your visibility becomes pretty non-existent. So having that direction is great. In terms of just picking, you were saying 3 or 4 things that you're interested in, and speak about those on a regular basis and build your audience with similar people who have those interests. So that's really simple advice. I'm sure a lot of people can make a start by actually following that advice. So let's move on then. I wanted to talk about communities as well with you. So we've talked about building an audience in terms of individual people, building an audience, but we can also build a community of people. And we're probably talking about that here in terms of building a like-minded community based on your interests. So how can founders reactivate an audience or community that they've already built? Because sometimes a community can be built to a certain level, but then the engagement can actually drop off sometimes.
It's interesting. So again, I'm right now building my own audience. I recommend to everyone to follow me if you want to see the process on how I build something from scratch, because I'm building my audience on Instagram. So it's something that we need to do every day. When I see communities that the engagement is not there, it's not how it used to, I think it's really important because again, communities and building a personal brand, it's all about right relationships. It's all about asking for feedback. What do you need from me? What can I do better? So if I was in charge of that, I would start having conversations with people who used to be really present and see what changed. Because sometimes it's because they need other type of support. And once we know that, then we can change. But it's all about having the conversations and not be afraid or scared to ask for feedback. I think that's really important. Not taking it personally also.
Would you ask people individually, so actually go into the DMs and start to chat with the members of your community? Or would you put a post into the community so you're actually asking everyone at the same time?
I would do both things. So for example, let's say I had like 10 people, 15 people who were super engaged. I want to see what happened to each one of those clients or members, right? And then I would also post, I would also email them. But I think people will be more comfortable on answering like in an honest way if you ask them personally, what are you at in your business? I noticed that you were really active 2 years ago. How can I support you better? I'm here for you. What can I do? What type of content do you want from me? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. And that comes from a place of service, which is where it should come from in terms of,
Correct.
I'm here to help you. So sometimes people are a little bit afraid to go into DMs because they feel DMs is all about hard sales. But I feel it's about having a change of mindset sometimes. If you do feel like that about DMs, and actually go in to talk to your community in terms of who can I help today? That's a different mindset. You're here to serve people. You're here to help them and find out how you can move them forward. That's my advice as well. So I think we're agreed on that, aren't we? So let's just finish off then the questions in the big breakdown, because the last one I've got here is, what should founders focus on if they want sustainable growth and not just quick wins?
I would say showing up every day. That's the short answer. Like showing up every day. Like, what action have I taken today that worked on my visibility? Could be a piece of content, it could be a story, it could be an email, but showing up every day, creating a routine for them. I know no one wants to hear that, but the short answer is showing up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel showing up as well can be helped by having systems behind the method in terms of how you show up. A lot of people show up organically and kind of think on the day, what should I post today? And they're quite ad hoc in terms of that. And in Fuzzled, we talk about how that type of activity is okay for a certain amount of time, but it can lead to a bit of energy drain and burnout. And you get these visibility spikes in terms of, you need to be consistent, but you're not sure what to post today. So you start to go a bit quiet. So having a system behind what you do in terms of visibility really helps. Do you find that as well? So at least you've got some prompts there, or you know what you're going to talk about this week and next week. You've got those topics worked out.
Yes, exactly. And I use also like specific times of the day, well, of the week, let's say. So for example, Mondays for me are the day that I love recording content. I'm really focused. I have a lot of energy. So Mondays, it's a recording day. Tuesdays, I love to write, for example. So I think there's no point in recording every day and editing every day. For example, let's say if you're trying to go on social media, there's no point in writing an email every day because you will get tired. And also you have clients, you have sessions, you have things to do, places to attend. So it's all about, asking yourself, again, Mondays for me are perfect to record. Some people might sound, terrible to record on Monday. So it's about asking yourself, how can I make things easier for me? Because again, we started the business to feel freedom, to make our lives better. So how can you make your life feel easier and start scheduling those visibility tasks in moments throughout the week that feels great? That's what I want to recommend.
Yeah, we totally agree with you here at Fuzzled on that. So what you're talking about there is having some structure to the week and having a weekly rhythm that fits you. Yeah, definitely. So structure, the rhythm, and we also talk about protecting your energy ceiling. So you're not going to get burnt out. We've all got so much energy in the day. So it's just being aware of that so you don't go beyond your energy ceiling. So it's about packaging that up into a structure. So great stuff. Thank you for all your insights in the big breakdown there. I think that certainly brought a lot of clarity to our listeners in terms of what's working in 2026 and how to create more of a sustainable rhythm in your visibility and to focus more on building an authentic personal brand. So with that, we're going to move on to the next section of the show, which is Buzzword Bingo. So here we go then for a quick round of buzzword bingo. So if you're tuning in for the first time, this is the part of the show where we highlight particular words within marketing or other industries as well in terms of those words and the jargon words that really confuse us. So we're looking to provide a little bit of clarity on those words and those terms. So today's terms are client acquisition. And you've also picked customer journey as well, which is a brilliant one. We've not had anyone on the show talk about customer journey yet. So over to you, Mireia, to explain client acquisition and then customer journey.
Okay, let's do this. So client acquisition, in simple terms, means the process on how are you attracting your clients. Okay, so client acquisition could be, let's say, hey, Mireia, my clients are coming in from Instagram and they write me a DM, and after that, we jump on a call, and then after the call, they become a client. That's your client acquisition process. So if you don't know that, have a look at past clients and see, okay, what happened before they became a client? Did they find me on Instagram? Did they, write me an email? Try to create a process and see in what ways can you maximize that to have more clients. That's client acquisition. And customer journey, that's all my work, basically, is the process on that the client follows before they become a client. So generally, people, and that's why I love client customer journey, generally people focus so much energy, time, etc. into getting new clients. And I always say that there's no point in acquiring more clients if there's no customer journey. Meaning, if there's no process after that to nurture them. Because if you, let's say, go to a shop, you invite people to the shop and there's nothing, they will not buy. So it's the same. How can I nurture them from the moment that they find me on Instagram to the moment that they become a client? That's your customer journey. It could be a system of emails. I could be sending them a masterclass. I could send them a checklist. I could send them, and I'm not talking about the freebie. The freebie is the next step. It's what happens next. Okay, so how can I support them after the freebie? It's a sequence of emails. I have seen so many clients that they send them a freebie and then they forget about them. No, you need to constantly have a conversation with them, especially at the beginning. They need to get to know you. So that's why I recommend after a freebie, send a sequence of emails about you, your story. Why are you doing that? What are your values? Recent client testimonials so they can get to know you, right? That's one thing that I want to add. And then another thing that I want to add is what happens after someone becomes a client. That's what I call the second customer journey. So sometimes when someone becomes a client, generally, I have seen that with clients, they stop communicating with them except for the time they have sessions. Again, there's no point. They need to also follow a customer journey, like a process where we nurture them, where we support them in the, during the moment that they're a client. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I love that insight. Very much so. And you're totally right in terms of customer journey and client acquisition working together. You need the customer journey, first of all, which leads, it's like a pathway, isn't it, towards client acquisition. And it was really interesting what you were saying there about also having a customer journey once you've got a client as well. So the work isn't done. Once you have the client, there's also a customer journey there with that client, really to look after them, to nurture them, and potentially move them up your ascension model to your next offer, the next level of support. So it definitely works together. I've not heard it like that before in terms of customer journey and client acquisition working together, but you're so right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say that to my clients, you are leaving money on the table because generally people do not upsell their current clients. They focus on getting new clients. And, if someone has been a client and they love working with you, generally they will be open to working with you again. And there's so many things that you can offer them. So I feel like to the people that are listening to the podcast, I would say, have a list of your recent clients and think, what can I offer them to generate more revenue? But what can I offer them that makes sense for them? Okay, that's always top priority because I promise you're leaving money on the table there.
I think that's the key point, isn't it? Offering something that makes sense to them. in that moment rather than a random offer, which is less likely to convert. Most definitely. Okay, so let's build on those insights then. Let's move on to the next section of the show, which is what would you do? So here we are then with what would you do? So this section of the show where we ask you to perhaps go back in time a little bit. So what would you do in terms of starting out now? You've got no audience, no existing systems, no visibility at the moment, kind of knowing what you know now with your expertise. What would you do going forward, starting out now?
Okay, first of all, I would define my ideal client. Who do I want to serve? And I would create something, what we call a freebie, something that I can offer them that makes sense to them. So it could be a checklist, it could be a masterclass, it could be a PDF, it could be a guide, whatever you think. So I would focus on defining really well my ideal client and then having that freebie or thing that I want to offer them for free to grow my email list. That's the key. So after that, I would pick 3 activities, only 3, because if not, I will overwhelm you. Only 3 that you are comfortable doing for the next 3 months. It could be, I'm going to post 2 times a week on social media. I'm going to go to 4 networking events a month in my area. And 3, it could be, I'm going to post once a week on LinkedIn. 3 things. And I want you to do those 3 things consistently for 3 months. And after 3 months, just evaluate. Did any clients come from those actions? Did I grow my email list? And from there, you can change it. There's so many things that you can do since, from going to podcasts to posting on LinkedIn, going to networking events, speaking at radio shows, magazines, newspapers. There's so many things apart from posting social media.
Definitely. I'm glad you've highlighted that as well, because a lot of people do think marketing is social media and posting on social media. There's so much more you can do. I like how you've made it you've made it very manageable as well in terms of picking 3 things. It's kind of online and offline as well, to networking events, actually meeting people in person, building relationships and having an online presence is a nice mix as well.
Yeah.
Does that come from lived experience then, in terms of that advice? Did you do those things when you were starting out, or did you actually work out those things later on in your business?
So I'm actually doing those things right now. So I have been working 6-7 years for companies with solopreneurs, advising them that. And I have seen how they grow from 0 to 70K, example that I was mentioning before the podcast to Paul, that I grow someone from 0 to 70K on Instagram and TikTok. And that's one example. And how I also grow revenue for solopreneurs that were offering offers from 0 to 250K a month. It's crazy now to think. And now it's where I say it's my turn to show how what I have done for others, how am I doing it for myself? That's, I think, why it's interesting to see the behind the scenes that I am going to share. But I feel like all that I'm saying is because I have seen results in clients. All that I'm saying. Like clients who have consistently published online, they have succeeded. Clients who have gone to networking events, they have gotten clients at the end. Clients who have gone to podcasts, they achieve results. Same with the analytics that I was saying yesterday. Clients who follow my advice to say, hey, let's have a look at analytics. Let's have a look only at the retention part. You will grow your following. It's a matter of time and learning from it. So all that I'm saying, I have seen results with clients, and now I'm showing it, in real time. How am I doing it?
Yeah, I love that. It's a lived experience and it's proof, isn't it? So these are the actions we've taken. This works. That's all there is to
Exactly.
it. So follow what's worked. Absolutely. So you mentioned some great moments there in terms of your own client wins or wins for your clients. So we're going to talk about those a little bit more in the next and final section of the show, which is marketing fails and holy moly moments. So this is marketing fails and holy moly moments. So this part of the show is where we either talk about marketing fails, so-called fails. They're not really fails. We're just trying things and maybe they don't work out. So we should share the learning. or sometimes things really work out for us and we have great results, which is a holy moly moment here on Fuzzled. So over to you, Mireia. What would you like to share with us?
Let's start with the success story or the failure. What do you prefer?
Let's have the success story.
Okay, so one success story actually happened 2 weeks ago. I was in charge of a launch for one of my clients. I directed the whole launch. So we were selling like high ticket offer, coaching offer. And I got almost 3,000 people interested in the offer thanks to the strategy of the launch. So basically we used Facebook ads and the community that this person had, one of my clients. And we created a sequence of emails to nurture them. And after a sequence of emails, they registered for a webinar. Okay. And after the webinar, we would sell them, basically that was the plan. We would sell them the certification, the high ticket, right? Wow. But we built the sequence in a way that it was really focused on getting answers for them. It was focusing also on showing the real person behind the brand, showing in a real authentic way, raw way. So I think that's when I analyze the results, that's why it worked really well. So we got 3,000 people interested. As we know, not a lot of people will show up on webinars. It's around 30 to 50%. So 30% show up to the webinar, and then we were full book. So that was really exciting to see direct I was in the webinar. It was really exciting, explaining the bonuses, and there was a lot of energy on that webinar. And we were like, we wanted like 15, we needed 30 people, and we got 50 people more interested that bought. So it was really a success that happened again 2 weeks ago.
Amazing. You keep repeating the holy moly moment all the time. It compounds over time, doesn't it? You're so right in terms of you need so many people to register for a webinar to then have so many people attend the webinar. And then out of those people attending, you get so many people actually buying, converting for you as well. It's a numbers game at the end of the day, isn't it? So it's great to see that work, because I totally appreciate the amount of work that would have gone into designing the webinar, hosting the webinar. It takes a lot of energy as well to do that, creating offers as well to sell at the end. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes for some time. So to then actually get the conversions and start working with people and repeat the process, that's definitely what we're all working towards. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's a great holy moly inspirational story that you shared with us there. Okay, so I'm sure people would be interested in contacting you or connecting with you as well, Mireia. So before we finish, where can people find you online? And is there anything that you would like our listeners to know about in terms of working with you right now?
Okay, so they can find me, I feel like everywhere right now, with Mireia Paíno. We will mention everything on the description. And I have for your listeners 5 prompts that work really well for solopreneurs or coaches on how to create more money using Claude, the new AI that everyone is talking about. Those 5 prompts, obviously for free, it's a free resource, will help you really change the content strategy to create results in your business. So that's really useful. That's my gift for the people that are listening to the podcast. And you can find me everywhere. Again, as I said, Mireia Paíno, and you can follow my Behind the Scenes there.
Brilliant. It sounds so valuable. The prompt list there for Claude. I can imagine, can you put those prompts into ChatGPT as well if you're not a Claude user?
Yes, you can. Yeah, I have tested with ChatGPT. I think it's my personal preference, Claude, because there's more things that you can do with it. There's so many things. Also, Claude can work in the background. It's crazy. Checking your email, answering emails for you. It's crazy. But for sure, you can use them on ChatGPT.
Brilliant. Okay, so we'll put those resources and the links there, which you've mentioned, into the episode show notes. So do check them out and connect with Mireia. All there is left for me to say is thank you so much, Mireia, for joining us today on the Fuzzled podcast. We've really enjoyed your insights and you provided a lot of clarity for our listeners.
Thank you very much, Paul. Again, hope it's useful for the listeners. And as always, it's better to pick 1-2 things, perfect them, and I promise you will see results in your marketing.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that. Yeah, let's all remember those 1, 2, 3 things and focus on those consistently. And then the results will come to us with a little bit of patience over time. Okay, and thank you to you for listening all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this episode, I really appreciate if you subscribe to the podcast and left a rating or a review. It really helps independent content creators like me to reach more thoughtful founders. So until next time, do keep building towards becoming a recognized expert online and in AI. With that, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Fuzzled, where structure beats hustle every time. If today sharpened your thinking, you'll enjoy my weekly Friday feeling emails, calm, honest reflections with practical structure you can build around. Join the Marketing Clarity Club at paulculshaw.com and I'll see you in your inbox. Take care and keep building with structure.